has visited his people. Alleluia, 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 alleluia.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. A leper came to Jesus and, kneeling down, begged him and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, he stretched out his hand, touched him, and said to him, "I do will it, be made clean." The leprosy left him immediately, and he was made clean. Then, warning him sternly, he dismissed him at once. He said to him, "See that you tell no one anything, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed. That will be proof for them." The man went away and began to publicize the whole matter. He spread the report abroad so that it was impossible for Jesus to enter a town openly. He remained outside in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. The Gospel of the Lord. I remember years ago listening to Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, saying that the path to holiness is not difficult. Do what you do, and do it for the glory of God. Another saint who bears the name Teresa and is beloved by the Church, her image is up there on the wall, St. Teresa the Little Flower, had her little way, which was pretty much the same thing. Whatever you're doing, whether you're scrubbing the convent floor or whether you're fixing dinner or whatever it is, do it for the love and the glory and the honor of God. She called it, as I said, her little way. And she is revered as one of the great saints of the Church. In our second reading, another great saint of the Church tells us pretty much the same thing. St. Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, says, "Brothers and sisters, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do everything for the glory of God." Everybody eats and drinks, and it's such a simple thing. St. Paul says, if you're eating, if you're drinking, do it for the glory and honor of God. We all do that already, eat and drink. So have you ever thought of doing it something as mundane as just simply eating, as that becoming a prayer and doing it for the glory of God and a path to holiness? Many of you, I'm sure, drive to work in the morning. And maybe you get a little upset with rush hour traffic. But if you stop and think that you're going to do this driving for the glory and honor of God, then it becomes a prayer. While you're at work, while you're at home, cleaning house, when you're a child, cleaning up your room like your mother tells you to, any of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis that normally wouldn't occur to us that this could become a prayer, can become a prayer when we remind ourselves, hey, I'm doing this for the glory and honor of God. I don't know if I've ever told this story here in this parish church before, but when I have been on retreat at Gethsemane, the Trappist monastery in central Kentucky, I always volunteer for the morning work period to help the monks out. And the work period runs from 8 a.m. till 11:30. After the first mid-morning prayer until the midday prayer. So 3.5 hours of working. One day on a retreat, the monk in charge of me took me up into the top of this like warehouse type place, and my job for the morning was to cut bubble wrap. There was a giant, and I do mean a giant, spool of bubble wrap, which I had to measure out into 12-inch squares and cut it, and the monks used that to put in the top of their fruitcake tins when they shipped them off to wherever they were going. So I said, fine. So I'm like, after about 15 minutes of this, I thought I was going to go crazy because I couldn't imagine a more boring morning than cutting 1 square foot of bubble wrap for 3.5 hours. But then I remembered something that the monks said. It's all for Jesus. And so I started. It's all for Jesus. It's all for Jesus. And you know, without going into too much detail, saying that made what I was doing a prayer. And before I knew it, 3.5 hours of cutting bubble wrap were over with, and I hurried back to the chapel and went to midday prayer. So I know it can work. Simple, mundane tasks that we do every day can become an avenue of grace, can become a prayer, and become, as Mother Teresa said, our own path to holiness. It's just opening our heart and our minds and our eyes to the possibilities that are out there for that holiness in the glory and honor of God.